Remember last week when I said I'm rooting for Francesca and Dom? I'm rooting for Dom, but for Francesca, she's public enemy number one. What's going on, everyone? James here with another real reaction, recap, and review for Perfect Match week number 2. That's right, episodes 5 through 8. A huge thank you to Netflix for giving me the chance to watch these early for review. They're streaming right now. And if you missed my episodes 1 through 4 reaction, recap, and review, you're going to want to check that out. It's right at the top of the screen or in the description below because, guys, we had a lot to talk about during week 1. Savannah versus Francesca versus Dom. There was so much happening back to back to back. But I will say this week, it's Francesca versus everyone else. I don't like her. If you're unfamiliar with what Perfect Match is all about, this show brings together single stars of Netflix's unscripted series like Love is Blind and Too Hot to Handle into this tropical paradise in an attempt to find love. As they compete to form relationships, the most compatible couples will play matchmaker, breaking up other couples in the boardroom and sending them on dates with brand new singles they'll invite to the villa. Just like last week, Lachey is hosting this show and it's directed by Anthony Gonzales. Guys, there's just so much to talk about. So how we're going to break this one down is a spoiler-free review, which I'll be doing at the beginning, and then of course my spoiler-filled recap and thoughts, because got a lot of thoughts right here. But before I let all those go, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, join the Real family, because we got a lot coming up this week alone. My Creed 3 reaction, we're talking F1 on Netflix. I'm so excited. I can't wait to talk about one movie though. I'm curious about it. It's called Cocaine Bear. It looks crazy. But guys, this week is going to be so much fun, so go ahead and get subscribed. Get loud in the comments down below as well, and let me know what you thought of Perfect Match Week 2. Did you like it better than Week 1, and what are your thoughts on Francesca? And also hit that big thumbs up button because it does a lot to help this video and beyond. So y'all, let's not waste any time. Let's get into my spoiler-free review, and like I said, there are time codes below. So this week was insane. I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything in this section, but episodes 5 through 8 are clearly much better and consistently more dramatic than the first batch of episodes. Perfect Match has finally hit its stride. If you're a fan of trashy reality TV shows on Netflix like I am, this is going to be exactly in your wheelhouse. I loved everything that they delivered here. There's consistent, like I said, drama, tension among our contestants, and some curveballs I genuinely did not see coming. Now, Francesca is definitely one character that has taken the reins and assumed position as the most dramatic person in the house. She's creating a ton of feuds, trying to break up a good thing with a certain couple, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I could not believe some of the lengths that she went to try and break up like very good, I would say, couples in the house. The pacing to these 3 episodes is also a lot quicker. At least these episodes feel like they breeze by, and I think that's because we're getting closer to the finish line. So we have one more batch of episodes after this, right? I mean, we don't have much more time with the contestants in this house. However, we're starting to get very serious, and the actual field is thinning out. However, there are some cool elements where the show allows some contestants who were eliminated to come back, so this is all going to be very interesting as we get closer to that finish line. Some instances I feel like they're maybe a little overly dramatic, but I mean, that's to be expected. However, for the most part, I do think that the pacing here is much better for the viewer. I mean, the kissing game last week was way too long, but there's no challenge in this batch of episodes that I can tell you felt wasted. And at least these episodes made me feel something. Even though I disagreed with some of the contestants' decisions in the boardroom, I at least reacted. And that was the intent, I'd imagine, because some of those decisions to bring in other contestants, it just felt so dumb. I'm sorry. Dumb is the only word that comes to mind. I'm looking at you, Joey and Carousel. Terrible matchmakers. Please, if you're friends with them, don't let them set you up on a blind date. They won't do a good job. But I do think that this was the monkey wrench that the show needed, because it actually paved the way for some other dramatic elements for episodes 5 through 8. So I would definitely rate this a lot higher than episodes 1 through 4. Is it the best reality TV that Netflix has produced? No. Love is Blind is still probably the best reality TV show that they have going, but Perfect Match is, well, it's really good. Alrighty, you guys, well, those are my spoiler-free thoughts. So right now, I give you one warning. We're about to get into spoiler territory for episodes 5 through 8. We're going to break down where we're at now by the end of this week, and then talk about how we got here. So again, spoilers ahead. Alright, guys, time to finally get into the nitty-gritty and all the details for these past 3 episodes. Here are the current matches by the end of episode 8. We got Joey and Carousel, that's a given, probably the safest couple on the board. Will and Diamond, which is definitely unexpected. Dom and Georgia, which if you are a fan of Dom and Georgia, you're probably happy. Like I was. I know a lot of you called it in the comments section last week and said Dom and Georgia look like a good couple. They should probably get together, and it finally happened. But we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. We got Ines and Damien, which another unexpected pairing. And then we have Francesca and Abby. When I told you about Francesca being the one to push forward the drama, who thought Francesca would be leaving Damien? I guess I did, because seeing her leave Dom last week and go to Damien and hot potato Damien for Abby, it's very interesting. But yeah, Francesca and Abby are together. And then you have Mitchell and Chloe. They've got a little past that we'll dive into in just a little bit. But yes, that's where we're at with our current matches by the end of this week. Now, what's the boardroom situation looking like? We got Chloe and Mitchell actually in the boardroom right now, and they're picking 2 guys. We were left on a cliffhanger ending. We don't know who they've picked yet, but I can only imagine Shane might be coming back into the house. We'll see. And how did we get here, guys? Alrighty. Buckle up, because I got my thoughts. We got some snakes coming to play, and I might have reversed course on Savannah after all. So there was a large playing field to begin episode 5. Let's begin with a little bit of commentary about Ines and Nick, because Ines, for me, going on that blind date with Bartise, it just didn't feel like a match. And I figured Ines wasn't going to stay with Nick anyway, so she's probably going to be alone after this one, right? And yes, she's kind of out there in the abyss. She's with Damien, like we mentioned at the end of episode 8, but it doesn't feel like Ines even knows what she wants personally. However, Bartise to me just screamed fake on this blind date. He's just looking to survive and stay above water, which is not great. And Ines even said that she wants a man, not a boy. So, whoops, I guess Bartise really wasn't your match after all. And then we have Izzy and Shane to begin episode 5, which I kind of feel bad for Shane in a way, because Izzy was kind of being tugged in all these different directions. Carousel and Joey, they're Carousel and Joey. They're safely matched together throughout the course of this entire batch of episodes. There's nothing that's going to drive a wedge in between them, I think. Could be that maybe a girl gets brought in the house and gets paired up with Joey. I don't know. I mean, Joey's talking all this commitment stuff, but Carousel has expressed in the past that Joey does not have, he doesn't have that sense of commitment yet. Like, he's very willing to jump ship once they start maybe like signing the lease and all that stuff. So I don't know. We'll see about that one. And then we got Georgia and Chase, and I'm very, very glad that this did not happen, but I do have some thoughts about these two to begin episode 5. Chase did admit that he and Anne-Sophie cheated in the kissing game, which made Georgia raise her eyebrows and think, okay, is this guy even trustworthy? Can I believe anything he says? And I guess you can't, because Chase actually met a girl before the show. It always seems like one contestant in these Netflix reality shows had a little thing before getting into this show. So Georgia's not putting up with Chase's antics, and Chase, I guess in one final desperate attempt to win her back, gave her a rock. Maybe he's just a fan of everything everywhere all at once. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. Chase giving Georgia a rock, that was the final nail in the coffin for their relationship. And at this point in episode 5, Francesca and Dom were still technically matched up, even though Damien and Francesca went on their blind date. Damien apparently apologized to Francesca. I guess they didn't leave on good terms, and also Damien pinned Francesca as like this homewrecker type, and Francesca and Damien said, why not kiss, might as well just get this going. And she's definitely smitten by him, and he's obsessed with her physically. But then this is where Francesca begins to reveal her true self, and also this is where I start to believe that you guys were right about Savannah. She, yes, is a snake too, but not as big of a snake. She's maybe like a water moccasin, and Francesca is more of like a boa constrictor in terms of like, actually she might just be a viper, I don't know. But Francesca is a much bigger snake. She does exactly what Savannah said she was going to do, which is just play the game and not actually be there for love, similar to what Savannah did. But I digress. Francesca was dissing Dom, saying that their kisses weren't as great as Damien's while she was in a conversation with Carousel. So Francesca's airing out their laundry. Francesca's dissing Dom behind Dom's back. And when Dom watches this back, I'd imagine he's going to be a little upset with Francesca. And then when Francesca made up her mind, she said it's best for Dom to just go home. It's awful. It's really disrespectful, and it actually makes me mad. And why does it make me so mad, guys? Well, it's because Dom and Francesca came into the game with the same intentions at first, and it just so happened to be that Francesca is a heartbreaker and she is a jerk, and she, like, who does these things and just like plays Dom like that? So listen, I'm rooting for Dom here, right? So it is easier, I guess, for me to be upset with Francesca, but even if I were to take all my bias out of the equation, Francesca telling another contestant to go home because she's not comfortable, even though she's the one that broke off what seemed to be like a good thing at the moment. No, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? We know that analogy. So Francesca really made me upset, and then she started crying and these crocodile tears started coming, and I'm like, oh, relax, man. I mean, girl, relax. And then when Dom hit a breaking point after Francesca said, I don't want you anymore, Dom was ready to leave. It was just Ines that was encouraging Dom to stay. And I have thoughts about this moment because they were both in the room together, and I thought Ines was going to tell Dom, listen, I've been wanting to tell you this for a while, but I really have feelings for you. That's what it actually kind of was being set up as. And we learn later on, of course, that Ines feels remorse for not actually expressing that she has feelings for Dom in this moment. In my opinion, she should have been a little bit more, I guess, forthcoming. Maybe not in that moment, but after he calms down, go to him and be like, okay, I know we just had that moment upstairs, but I really need to tell you something. It just seems like Ines doesn't necessarily know what she wants, and when she does, she's not willing to act on that. So it's the whole adage where she's not taking steps forward and she's not really putting forth the effort like she needs to be in a reality show like this. So with all that being said, we got new matches in episode 5, of course. Dom and Georgia pair up together, which I love. I like them a lot together. And of course, we know who's upset about this. Francesca. Francesca is upset. That's my friend hooking up with Dom. That's so weird. This is so weird. I don't want this. Girl, bye. I've had enough with Francesca's antics at this point. I'm already frustrated and it's only episode 5. But yes, so Georgia and Dom are together, and then you got Ines and Shane, which is interesting because they've been a thing in the past and now they're a thing again, and it's like, what are we doing here, guys? And I don't know, it just doesn't feel like, to me, this was anything more than just a save me moment. And Ines and Shane, even though they're together, it just doesn't feel like, at least at this point, that it's gonna work out, and it didn't. So there's that. And then you have Francesca and Damien, Carousel and Joey, and then Izzy and Bartise. So Izzy and Bartise being together definitely was a curveball, I guess, for Nick, and he is one of those who were eliminated in episode 5. So we had two eliminations, excuse me. We got Chase and we got Nick. Chase was gone from the moment we found out, basically, that he had a girl before their show, because, I mean, who's gonna want to date a liar like that, I guess? Even if Chase was more forthcoming about it, it still doesn't paint him in the best light, because he did have something right before coming on the show, and that's not great. And then you have Nick, right? Nick was playing strategy with Savannah, so I guess, you know what they say, get in the snake pit or get too close to it, you might be bitten, and then, well, you're gonna probably end up losing. So yeah, he goes home, and yeah, 2 guys who came into the game just to play for strategy get eliminated. How about that? So after the eliminations, of course, we have a challenge, you guys. Well, the challenge this time is couples placing themselves in order of most compatible to least compatible. But what they didn't know is that was literally the entire challenge. So Joey and Carousel were placed first, which makes a lot of sense. And, well, I think it was Francesca and Damien towards the back of the pack, which is actually kind of great. But the winner of the challenge is the couple that is placed as the most compatible. And that was it. Like Lachey surprised me. Everyone was surprised alongside everyone else who was watching, I'm sure. But Joey and Carousel win, and that gives them control of this boardroom, and they get a private date. So let's talk about boardroom number 4, guys. That's Joey and Carousel, like we just mentioned. They're bringing in 2 girls. So they choose Colony, and they pair her up with Dom, which is interesting. Okay, and then you have Chloe being brought into the house, and that was an interesting choice. I'm glad, because I liked her on the circle, but she's being paired up with Shane. So man, oh man. Chloe being brought into the house is actually a good thing, because it did add some flavor, like, in a sense, in terms of the drama to the show. But Colony being brought into the house, it just didn't feel like it was going to work, because Dom already had his heart set on Georgia. So this happens a couple times, where Dom gets set up on a blind date, and it just doesn't work out. And you know why? Because Dom is loyal to Georgia. So, yay Dom. So now as we begin episode 6, here are our current matches. We have Francesca and Damien, and golly, I just don't like them. Damien ain't so innocent either, guys. That man, I don't know. He's got a little bit of a past to him, but it's not that his past defines him now. However, he is... Let's just put it this way. He is very blind if he does not see that he's being played by Francesca. I noticed this at the beginning of episode 6, but Francesca apparently wants Dom gone so bad that she's willing to make out with Damien just to spite Dom, and it's weird. It doesn't make sense. Like, Damien, you're being used, bro. And Francesca is okay with being the user, and that's not cool. And our next current match is Georgia and Dom. So it was really cool to see that Dom told Colony, listen, I don't want to match with you, but I'm going to try to set you up to win in the house. And Colony was willing, of course, to explore the house. Dom says to Georgia shortly after that this is the happiest he's been in a long time, and then they kiss. Yeah, guys, I'm rooting for them, okay? I'm rooting for Georgia and Dom to make it all the way. They seem so good together, and even amid all that adversity, it just seems like Dom and Georgia are just pulling through, right? So good for them. Our next current match is Ines and Shane. Of course, Shane and Chloe went on that blind date, and Chloe was matching Shane's energy, and you can tell Shane was definitely all in. So I do feel bad for Ines, but I knew that Ines picking Shane out of pity last episode was just, well, it's not great. So, you know, now the turntables, right? So you have Shane and Ines, and Shane telling Ines, I'm gonna go with Chloe. Makes sense. And then there's Carousel and Joey, and Izzy and Bartise. But the new matches are on the way. Like I said, the pacing, right, in these episodes, very, very, very fast. So we are going to get into the new matches now in episode 6, and that is Bartise and Ines. Like I said, Shane leaving Ines makes sense. I'm a little rapper. But yeah, Bartise and Ines together, again, feels kind of like a weird move. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Carousel changed Bartise's mind and actually led him on to then picking Ines. Now, I gotta say something about Carousel here. She ain't so innocent, right? I think she's like Snake Jr., you know what I mean, to Francesca. She's a little too willing to play the game and change things up. It's one thing to go in the boardroom and try to change things up. It's another thing to manipulate other relationships alongside Francesca, and that's what Carousel's doing. And you can kind of, we'll talk about it later, but Carousel does this to Ines as well. But yes, Bartise led Izzy on and then dumped Izzy and said, I'm going with you, Ines, because Carousel convinced me. Interesting. Dom and Georgia match up again, which is awesome. Francesca and Damien. Blech. Then you have Joey and Carousel and Shane and Chloe. So that leads us to, of course, our episode 6 eliminations. And, of course, goodbye, Izzy. Goodbye, Colony. Which was a pretty bad choice to bring into the house by Joey and Carousel. If Colony was paired up with anyone else, might have worked out a little bit better, but to pair her up with Dom to intentionally try and drive a wedge in between Dom and Georgia, not cool, and that was definitely Carousel's doing. Now, I do have some comments about our current matches post-elimination in episode 6. Francesca and Damien, let's start with them. Francesca is still on her She's making me think about the abbreviation for the curse word, but I won't say it. But Francesca just seems like she wants to spite Dom with every action that she takes with Damien. And that is just a waste of time for Damien, but also it's just dumb. Girl, get over it. You played the game, now he's going and finding someone else. Enough. If you didn't want Dom to stay in the house or be seen with other girls if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then why did you just spite him, break up with him, and go and pick someone for yourself in the boardroom, girl? You did this to yourself. And in another conversation on the side, Francesca mentioned to a couple of her friends in the house that the biggest misconception about her is that she's evil. Why you always lying? Why you always lying, Francesca? You are evil for what you've done. Like, if you can't be self-aware enough to notice that. And then there's Joey and Carousel, and like I said earlier, Carousel is low-key a snake, befriending Francesca and trying her hardest to, well, really drive a wedge in between a ton of these relationships. So I don't like it. Girl, don't try to home wreck or, destroy these other relationships. Just do your thing with Joey, alright? You might have bigger issues to deal with Joey down the road, so focus on that. Then there's Chloe and Shane, and Chloe had an interesting moment with Shane during this Truth or Dare mini segment where she gave him a lap dance. Okay, I know she's an eccentric person, but me personally, I wouldn't have been comfortable with that if I were Shane. I would not be comfortable with that. Like, all that PDA, people don't need to be seeing that. So yeah, Shane was eventually upset that Mitchell and Chloe kissed on their blind date. So yeah, there's a lot of things where Shane is comfortable in one moment and then he's not. So I kind of feel bad for Shane. Eventually, like we mentioned, Chloe chooses Mitchell, but I have more comments about their interaction together during Boardroom number 5's sequence. So let's talk about the final 2 matches post-elimination, and that is Bartise and Ines. But I do have some comments about Bartise and Ines. I have no notes here for Dom and Georgia. Bartise told Ines that he built her up. Once Ines was set on not picking Bartise got very upset and started to feel like, when you put a rat in, I'm not saying he is, but when you put a rat, it's that scene from Too Fast, Too Furious, inside of like a cylindrical container where there's no like light or anything like that, they start to try to claw their way out. That's what Bartise kind of looked like he was doing, where he was doing his damnedest to just go and fight his way into another relationship. But Ines said, I'm not picking you. And Bartise said, well, if you remember, I built you up. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. Here comes the misogyny. So yeah, not a fan of Bartise, guys. Never been a fan of Bartise, and it just seems like he's proven me right every time he's in one of these reality shows. Okay, guys, so let's talk about the episode 6 challenge now. I titled this one Sponges. They were placed on interesting areas of each partner's body. So yeah, Francesca and Damien ended up winning this one, and Dom and Georgia were in second place. This is where I started to feel worried for Dom and Georgia, because Francesca and Damien, well, Damien's going to do whatever Francesca says. Francesca is the head of that relationship, and she wants to do one thing, right? And that is break up Dom and Georgia. But to my surprise, in Boardroom at number 5, Francesca and Damien ended up bringing in 2 guys not named Nick and Zay, even though they were back on the board. You have Will and Mitchell. So Ines and Will were paired up. You have Francesca and Carousel, being the villains that they are, ended up flirting with Will once he was back in the house after their blind date. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Ines and Will didn't look like they had anything together, but Will is much more willing to play the game than Ines is, which is probably a turnoff for Ines. But it was very weird to see that Francesca and Carousel were flirting with Will. It was just very awkward. And then there's Chloe and Mitchell. They had a history, kind of like Francesca and Damien, before Perfect Match. Chloe and Mitchell broke up 6 months prior to the filming in that moment. And Chloe said Mitchell just got insecure about still being a virgin, knowing that Chloe's had a lot of intimate relationships prior to Mitchell. And it was giving Colton Bachelor vibes, if you remember Colton Underwood in The Bachelor. But I don't think it's wrong for Mitchell to still be a virgin. There's nothing wrong with that. It seems like these reality shows always kind of prey on that. But they ended up kissing, and you can tell they're a good match together. So again, Shane, feel bad for you, buddy, but that's just how the show goes, I guess, for Shane. He just continues to find himself interested in someone, and then they're only interested with him until someone else comes on the show. Ugh. I feel bad for him. Oh, and before we move on to episode 7's new matches, it was actually a really good bit of editing where they tricked us into thinking Francesca and Damien were being split up and Francesca was choosing someone for herself. So, yeah. It was good. Alrighty, guys. So we're into episode 7 now, right? We're almost at the finish line here. Episode 7's new matches. You got Chloe and Mitchell, Carousel and Joey, Francesca and Damien, Georgia and Dom, Ines and Will. So the eliminations were obvious, right? Shane and Bartise, like we just spoke about. And I found it really funny. Actually, there was one moment. It was so petty. Chloe and Mitchell go to their room in the villa, and I guess they have an infinity pool off of their balcony. But then you had Bartise and Shane sitting literally directly underneath where that pool is. So Chloe and Mitchell hop in, and all the water splashes on them. Oh my gosh. And they were really mad, but I laughed. I'm sorry. So now with our new matches, we're hopping right into episode 7's challenge. I called this one Cute or Cringy. They both had to, with their backs turned, of course, not looking at each other's chalkboard, write down either cute if they agree with the statement that Nick Lachey provides about them as a couple, or cringy, which is maybe they don't agree with that. So the challenges were interesting. They're not always inventive at times in this batch of episodes, but you know, I guess it kind of works for the show. It just sometimes they feel like they're lacking. However, this challenge got better as it went on. So the winners were Will and Ines, to everyone's surprise, including my own, and I'm sure to your surprise as well. But I think what that proved to me with them winning is that there was nothing there. Even on the episode 7 date, right? With Will and Ines, they were doing this feather thing, and Will was not willing to participate. Ines said yes to it, and there just wasn't anything there. And it confirmed for Ines that Will was not her match, because Will just kept saying, I'll do anything to win. I'm here to play the game. I'm not here for sympathy, so-and-so and so. And I'm like, all right. Thor, or I don't know, there's got to be like a knockoff version of Thor. Just chill. But of course, they still get their moment in boardroom number 6. We have Will and Ines picking 2 women, one of them being Diamond, and pairing up Diamond with Dom, which was really weird, but Will pushed for this, even though Ines pushed back. So Ines was looking out for Dom, knowing that she has feelings for Dom at this point. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Anyone can kind of tell. She wanted to keep Dom and Georgia together because she, like seeing him happy. But then you have Will pushing for Dom to be paired up with a new girl. After Will and Dom had a conversation about hopefully just being civil with one another and kind of burying the hatchet. They did not have a good friendship on the mole. So it's safe to say that, well, the trust is broken between those two, if there was any left, and their relationship is definitely broken. So they have nothing there, but there was some tension, between Ines and Will in the boardroom during this moment. So I don't know, but as we know, Dom and Diamond didn't really work out. And then you have Francesca and Abby. So this is the first time we've seen a same-sex couple in Perfect Match, but not in the grand scheme of Netflix's reality TV shows. I believe there have been in the past. But Francesca and Abby. So Abby apparently really likes Francesca, and Francesca does too. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Will Francesca continue to be a snake? Certainly. Which leads us right to our episode 8 current matches, you guys. We got Carousel and Joey. Again, they're safe. They're gonna make it to the end, but it's really up to Joey and his commitment issues. I think that's what's gonna happen. Although Carousel was trying to sabotage Dom and George's relationship, telling Ines to go after Dom. Again, Carousel girl, you're in that territory. You're a snake now. So we got 2 snakes still left. We got Carousel and we got Francesca. Making me really wonder if Savannah was right, and I think she was. Then there's Francesca and Damien. Even though Francesca feels like she's moving on after her blind date with Abby, she actually cuts off Damien in their one-on-one conversation to bring in Carousel, and Francesca basically told Damien to go speak with Dom. Francesca's pretty much over him, and that I feel kind of bad for Damian here. And then there's Chloe and Mitchell, Georgia and Dom, and Ines and Will, even though we know that's not going to last too long because we got new matches, right? So our new matches now, Dom and Georgia, you know, they've made it more official between these two, where Dom went to go and reassure Georgia because she was very upset. She was not upset with Dom, but she was upset with the landscape of everyone trying to break them up. And Dom went to Georgia and said, Georgia, would you be my girlfriend? Yes, and it worked out. So we're rooting for them, you guys. We're rooting for Dom and Georgia. And then you got Ines and Damian, which felt like something out of left field. They kissed, or the alcohol helped them kiss. But Ines doesn't really know what she wants, and Damian said he still wants Francesca. So it's kind of a mess. I think they just stay together so they could stay in the house. And of course, Joey and Carousel, Will and Diamond, which is interesting. I just don't think Will was trying to get with Diamond because he wants to get to know her. He just wants to stay around. Will is a wild card. I don't like him. But yeah, I feel bad for Diamond in this instance. Francesca and Abby paired up. We saw that coming after their blind date. And then Mitchell and Chloe. Even though there's something up with those two. We're about to talk about that right now. So during the episode 8 challenge, they had the blindfolded obstacle course, which was actually pretty fun to witness. Chloe and Mitchell end up winning. It was a tight race, but once they go on their date, this is where things start to get juicy all over again. So in the past, the reason why Chloe and Mitchell didn't work out wasn't apparently only because Chloe thought Mitchell was insecure. It's because Mitchell he's not ready for a relationship, whether it be with Chloe or anyone in general. And we find out that, well, Mitchell's still not ready. He even said explicitly to Chloe that he's not looking for a relationship right now, which is like, what? This is so out of left field. Mitchell, you were just talking about how you're so excited to see Chloe and so excited to be in this relationship, and what changed? So I almost wonder if something happened behind the scenes, or if this was a producer's decision, because it was way too unexpected for it to make any sort of sense. But yeah, I feel bad for Chloe now. However, there's someone on the board that Chloe might invite back into the house. They do tease in the boardroom number 7 moment that Shane might return to be with Chloe, but at this point, I think Shane will probably say no, because Shane is tired of being tossed around like a rag doll. He had feelings for Chloe. Chloe said, deuces, I'm going to Mitchell, and Mitchell's now like deuces to Chloe, so Chloe's just going to resort back to plan B. Like, I don't think Shane would buy that, but we'll see what happens. It's a cliffhanger ending, so we don't even know if Shane's officially coming back into the house, even though they're teasing it. So there you have it, guys. That's my real recap, review, and reaction to episodes 5 through 8 of Netflix's Perfect Match. This show is bonkers, y'all, and it's much more dramatic this week. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me. If you did up to this point, you need to hit the big red button below and subscribe to the channel, because guess what we're talking about next week? The final week of Perfect Match, episodes 9 through 12. I'm going to be recapping it, talking about it right here on the channel, and I want you to as well. So get loud in the comments down below. Hit that thumbs up button so more fans of Netflix's reality shows can take a look at this video and join the conversation, because there's so much to talk about. So let's have a lot more of those conversations down below. And yes, you can tell me I'm wrong about Savannah. That's fine. But she's still technically a snake too. I know, Francesca's worse. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Get ready for Creed 3 this week and so much more that you can expect on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. And I'll catch you at the next screening.